everyone. Welcome to GradMissions Office Hours. I'm Autumn,
Hi everyone, I'm Wise Ann.
Hi, I'm Logan.
and we are so excited to introduce you to a new member of the GradMissions team. This is Morgan. Welcome, Morgan. Tell us a little bit about
Thanks.
yourself.
So excited to be here. I have been in the legal world for quite a while. I have done big law recruiting and I've also done career development at a large law school. And so I'm excited to kind of help with client success and make sure every student is feeling the love and kind of understands the process a little bit more. So
I love that. Well, you couldn't have joined at a better time because, as you and I were talking right before we hopped on, there is a lot of noise out there right now about how early employers are starting to recruit 1Ls for summer opportunities. And, a lot of 1Ls are like, yay, that's great. But boy, that's an extra layer of stress that there used to be more rules around. So we're going to dig into that next week. So join us next week when we talk about career services in more depth. But today, we really want to peel back the layers of what your decision should be when you're deciding which law school or med school to attend. We know you're looking at US News rankings. We know you're looking at Reddit. We know you're listening to your parents and grandparents about which school they think are, more esteemed than the other. But there are some things that you may not have considered. And from the Brain Trust here at GradMissions in the Pod Loft, we have some things that you might not have thought about as you're making this decision. And I know right now there's a lot of hand wringing because med schools are moving at a glacial pace with interview invites, with decisions. Law schools are, Lizanne described it as a gridlock, and I think that's a great way to put it. We have seen some of the higher ranked law schools starting to make some decisions, and then that always trickles down, and schools all the way up and down the ranking list will start making decisions. But there are a lot of you out there who are just staring at your screen and waiting for decisions. And so let's let's give you something to do with your hot little hands while you wait for your decisions to come in. So I think let's kick us off because we have been so heavy law lately. Logan, why don't you tell me some things that you would think about if you were making a med school decision?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm coming at this from the perspective of conversations with students that I have had as they were making their decisions both at the med school that I worked with and other med schools that they saw across the country. And honestly, questions that I would get as a director of student services from any incoming med student or any prospective med student. So these were maybe some of the best questions that I feel like I
There
was
we go.
asked. That's probably a more accurate viewpoint on this, but um, I would say especially with step one being pass fail and step two kind of happening late in the game, learning what's the research infrastructure that is available at any med school that you're applying to. How readily available are research opportunities? I will say by looking at the website, you
Mhm.
can't necessarily get a good idea of really what is the mechanism by which a student would find research. Every website is going to say that research opportunities are available, but I think the question is more, are you cold calling PIs? Are you showing up in an admin's email and saying, do you have anything available? Or is there really like a machine that will work you through the process and connect you to research opportunities across the college? Sometimes it varies by specialty. You know, I know orthopedic surgery, sometimes you got to know a guy who knows a guy, but once you know the guy,
Huh. Yeah.
the world is unlocked,
Yeah.
right? And then, maybe some smaller specialties like pathology, it's actually kind of equally as accessible because there isn't as much demand for that type of research. And so, really, the world
Mhm.
is your oyster. But in something like internal medicine, for example, if you're just cold calling physicians or attendings to say, hey, do you have any research going on? Yikes, that's
Right.
going to be difficult to find something that you want to do. So I would say that would be number one. Is there an equivalent in the law space?
I definitely think that translates over to the law school side and the career development office. I think a lot of times they're called the placement office, and they're not. They're not the placement office. We always joked about this, that we do not have this magical bag full of jobs that we're just handing out left and right. And so you need to go, and when you're making the decision, go meet everyone in the student services office, because they are going to be the ones that you're talking to on a daily basis, whether it's you're needing a copy made, or you're needing help with something, you're needing your grades, or you just need advice about your career path. I would go talk to the career development office and see who it is that you're going to be talking to, because those people are also going to be advocating on your behalf and out there networking for you. And if you don't click with them, then that might not be the right fit for you, because they're going to be looking for jobs for you, and you're going to be in their office a lot. So if you don't feel comfortable from the beginning with them, might not be your place.
That's right. They really are out there advocating for the school, making those connections, working, it's the deans and the career services like dog and pony show. And you just, go to the big law firms and you're doing the things and building that experience. I think also something to pay attention to in both spaces, med and law, is how plugged in the alumni are, because that's a pretty good indication of how happy they were with their student experience. Happy students make very happy alumni. If you feel like your school didn't do you well, you're not going to want to pay it forward. You're not going to serve on an interview committee or do mock interviews or come back and work with mock trial teams. So I think paying attention to how active the alumni base is, the physicians who you're shadowing, what's the reputation of the school? Like, people know and they talk, and yes, things can change, but I mean, really, in academia, how fast do things change? Not very often.
I will say another aspect that kind of goes along with that, because it's stewardship. Um,
Mm.
I recommend visiting for the schools that you're serious about, or have been admitted to at this point, and you're making some decisions. Visiting all of the spaces that students encounter, which, in med school, I assume is a little different than law school. I think law school is pretty well contained in a single building for the most part. Um, in med school, you're depending on what type of campus you're on, you'd be in the hospital. There might be multiple hospitals. There might be more of a primary care center in terms of clinical work. But there also might be multiple buildings. There might be more of an admin building, and then there might be more of a teaching and learning building. If you can get a tour at the simulation center, if there's a simulation center where you're going, which that would also be something that I would look for, as, a learning tool. I don't even want to classify that as an amenity. I feel like that is just a serious learning tool.
Yeah.
Go visit all of the spaces, even the classroom spaces, because that is where you're going to be spending so much of your time. And you don't want, if you interview in person, or if you just, maybe meet with the admissions officer, I don't want you to get swayed by maybe whatever the admin building is or something like that. Just know what all of the spaces look like, because you won't be spending time in the admin building for the most part.
You are not an admin. You are a student. That's
Yeah.
right. No, you're absolutely right. And I think that's the same for law schools. Morgan, when you were talking about meeting career services, as strange as this sounds, it's a vibe check, right? Like, go and see how you feel there, because if the vibes are off, like, there's something in your body that knows that's not the place for you. When one of the law schools I worked with was a public law school. It was like a big flagship law school, and pretty friendly, pretty warm. We're really close to main campus. So, our students would tailgate, and, it was just very like, college town. And we recruited a lot against a private law school that was in a bigger city south of us. And that law school is just known for being real snooty, like real snooty. And so when people were trying to make their decision between us and them, I'd be like, go visit them. Like, honestly, if that's the right vibes for you, you're not going to be happy here. Like, where we're playing cornhole on Friday afternoons, like, this is not going to be your vibes if that's the vibes for you. What do you think, Lizanne, as a person who actually did go to law school?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to talk about too. It's just more fit. And, thinking about my experience as a 22-year-old single girl, I mean, come on, starting law school, and then also then working at a law school in the admissions office, the what I saw, the most successful students would treat law school like an 8 to 5 job, which sounds kind of silly. Like, well, duh, Lisanne, we know it's going to be very difficult. But truly
But
just,
no one's going to force you to be there 8 to 5.
they're
You're going to have to
not.
be intrinsically motivated to get
They're
your
not.
work done.
Absolutely. And it is just very, very different from undergrad. Obviously, people who are going to law and med school have worked extremely hard in their undergraduate years and done very well. But they truly are professional schools. So no one's going to be, checking in with you. And what Morgan said about, student services and career development, obviously they should be very welcoming to you. They're wanting to help you, but you have to go see them too. They're not going to send you an
Yes.
email every week like, hey, heads up, they'll have all the events with, free pizza and, sandwiches and all that to get you to come, but they're not going to, say, hey, come to this, come to that. So treating it, as an 8 to 5 is going to be really important. And so with that, thinking about your personal, responsibilities and obligations that you have. So obviously my experience, I was young, didn't have a family, was not married yet. And then there's tons of people who do have those obligations. They're non-traditional students and they may have a family or they're married or they have an aging parent, or they can't necessarily move, they have to commute. And so thinking about all of those things too and how that ties into your law school experience and how it can be successful. So go to student services, even as you get your decisions, going and talking to them, checking the vibes, as we've all said, but then also letting them know, hey, I have a 4-year-old. Autumn and I would always, we were young moms at the time when we were working there, would say, oh, we know this great play, it's nothing official, but they should be able to talk to you about that. I mean, I remember once keeping a baby during someone's final exam when their childcare fell through. Like, if you are a parent, you need to go to a school that supports you being a working parent, and you are a working parent, even if you're in school not getting paid.
We would give parents attending law school the choice of their schedule. Like, we would let them pick which one else schedule worked best for them, and it wasn't. I'm going to talk about this very quickly.
Sure.
So we would do a lot of student satisfaction surveys, and which we can talk about that in our career services episode. But people would say, the student services place favorites. They have favorites. They have favorites. And I'm just going to tell you this right now. This is a little tough love coming from Autumn. If you want to be a favorite, be favorable. How about that? How about be someone pleasant?
100%.
If you want to be a favorite, be favorable. If you're a giant pain and you're mean and the only time we see you is when you're disgruntled because you don't remember the combination lock after spring break, you're not my favorite. And that's on you because I'm a delight.
For sure.
I'm not giving your name out to a law firm, for sure. If they're calling and needing a summer intern, your name is not getting sent out. Your resume is not getting sent out. And when they call and say, have you worked with this student? I have to be honest because it's on my reputation and the school's reputation as well. And I have to say, I have. And if you're wanting this type of personality, then they're great for you.
Absolutely.
Logan, does this exist at the med school? Is that good advice for the med school too, to be favorable?
I was like, first of all, if I wasn't wearing pajama pants on the bottom, I would have given you a standing ovation. I just want to say that, first of all.
We're all snowed in and freezing, y'all.
Yes.
We're all in our thick pajama pants.
No,
today.
I can stand up. I actually have on zippers.
Okay, so first of all, yes. First of all, of course your student services office has favorites.
Yeah.
Come on. Yes. Just like you said, if you want to be favorite, yes, be favorable. Well, and I can have an entire class of favorites. It's not like I can only have 5.
No, for sure.
Right? I mean, it's
my love like don't cost a thing except your kindness.
Yes.
Right.
I will say I did not, in med school, like the only power I felt like I had, because I didn't, we're not sending names out to anyone for jobs or anything like that. Like that's really not how that works. But your student services office likely has very bad boundaries. And if you were a favorite, I would bend over backwards to make your life as easy as possible against, my own benefit. But if you're not a favorite, I will simply email you instructions on how you can do it on your own. And I feel
Mhm.
like making someone's life easier, especially in something as difficult as med and I'm sure law school, like that is currency. That is, I will never forget one of my favorite students. He was non-traditional. What were we working on? Oh, we were onboarding for the clinical year and we were associated with a VA. So there was a mountain of paperwork that you had to do to get clinical privileges at the VA. And of course, none of it is clear, and you had to do insane things like if you had a paid version of Adobe, you had to delete it off your computer so that you could use the free version of Adobe to fill out this form. Bananas. Anyway, so, once you crossed all the hurdles to actually fill out the paperwork, then you had to scan and send it to the VA. And I'll never forget a student came in, he wanted to just make sure he had done his paperwork correctly. I looked it over and said, "Yeah, do you want me to scan this and send it to you?" And he looked at me and he said, "This is the most humane thing that has happened to me in
Yeah.
the last 5 years." We were there during COVID, also, to
Mm.
be clear. But I thought that was hilarious because all I was doing was scanning and sending it to him. But I
Sure.
really feel like that speaks
But
to,
you didn't have to
Yes.
do
I
that if
didn't
you
have to
knew
do
that.
that. But
Yeah,
that
for
also
sure.
really speaks to like the kind of hurdles that you are constantly having to
Yes.
cross to get to the finish line. And if someone
Yeah.
can remove just a single hurdle for you,
Yep.
Mhm.
it makes your entire day. And that's what
Yeah,
your student services office is there to do if you're not a jerk.
if you're not a jerk.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it goes back to just showing up. So show up during this admission cycle too. Ask for a visit, ask to sit in on a class, to meet some students who may be interested in the same area that you're in. And that can help with transferring it over to that job that we were
Yeah.
talking about. So see the building. I mean, you're going to
Yeah.
be there for 9+ hours a day. Are there
Yeah.
comfy places to study? Is it drafty? Is it old? Is it moldy? And you have allergies? I mean, just all the
Do you
things.
remember the booger wall?
No, I blocked that out.
You did.
Yeah.
Well, it was in the boys' bathroom, so I only
Oh,
heard about it. It was lore. Yeah, they like wanted to gut the bathrooms and make new bathrooms, and they like literally sent a picture of something called the booger wall to the dean, and he was so embarrassed that he approved the project, and they got new bathrooms.
that's amazing. I did not know that story. That's so funny.
Gross. Sorry, y'all. That's
Yeah.
gross.
And then thinking about your coworkers, will they rally together to make a bigger wall, or
That's
is it
right.
going to be cutthroat? Ask them, what is the community like here? Is it,
Yeah.
going again, going back to 22-year-old Lysanne, it's like, well, I have people who, as a first gen, help me figure out these little things that I don't know because I don't have a lawyer in my family about how to interview, how to show up for X, Y, and Z. So thinking through those things, thinking about too, and this is going back to student services, but just, you know, asking again, showing up, asking these questions. Schools should be willing and able and nice and kind about giving you all of this information. This is a huge decision that you're making.
Yes.
And if they're not putting their best face forward at this time,
Girl.
if he
Say
wanted to,
that.
he would,
That's
if he
right.
wanted to, he would.
Ooh.
So if you have, if you need accommodations, go ahead and they're not going to put a scarlet A on your forehead. Ask about those things. If you have a health condition or, you
A religious practice you need
a
to do. I
religious
remember us
practice,
converting
yes.
interview rooms into a prayer room for
Mhm.
students.
Yes.
Like, but we can only help with what we know about. And I think you're so right. There are some admissions offices right now who will not even reply to an email. Like it's been weeks, and we have clients who, and I am agog at this. Like
I'm
we would have had our head on a plate if we didn't respond to applicants.
yes.
I don't know what, I think law schools have forgotten who they are. And you know that
Wow.
there's a 2012, 2013 coming. It's coming. Karma's coming. They
Sure.
need to be responsive to you. And if they're not, it signals either number one, that admissions office is under resourced, which I'm guessing probably so is career services.
Yep.
Okay. Listen to what I'm
Mhm.
saying. Library staff, all these things. Or number two, they don't care, which like that comes from the bottom down. So if
Yeah.
your admissions office is not responsive to you, I don't care if you are on the wait list, you are a human who deserves to have an email
Yeah.
responded to.
Absolutely. It kind of burns me up a little bit, honestly. And that's why we're in this business, is so
Yeah.
that we can get to know people well. And I'm like, our clients are amazing. They have such great stories to tell outside of just, I mean, their application is beautiful and tells their story, but like they would do phenomenal in an interview, and they have some great schools lined up and they need to go visit so that they can see if your school would be a good fit for them. And you're telling them, we're busy, just email your questions to us. And like,
Here's a self-guided tour.
yeah, and not even a pretty
Please.
email signature, not even like a professionally written email. Like, what is happening?
Yeah.
You're a top XY law school. Like, why? Yeah. Anyways, I could get on a rant about
Trust
that
your
right now,
gut.
but I
The
won't.
vibes are real.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just if an email can't even be done well, then
Or at all. There's a
right.
school on the West Coast right now who they still have not responded to some students from last cycle. Like they still don't know what their admissions decision is. And it's a good law school.
Wow.
I know.
So those are all my
Yeah.
rants about showing up and making sure it's a good fit.
I agree with everything you all just said. I have a question, and then I want to talk about med school commutes. This is, I'm just curious. So we used to say that we wanted to make a med school that our football team would be proud of. Because, when you think about Division I football recruiting, it's all about the amenities, right? For, top tier players deciding what program they want to be a part of. It's about the coaching staff. It is about the people. To the credit of everything that you all just said about, how are you being responded to in email, and particularly as a formerly under-resourced student services director, everything you said is correct. If you're not getting responses or you're getting scattered frazzled responses, they're under-resourced, and you want to know that. But it's all about the amenities. And so are amenities a thing in the law school space or not quite? Because they definitely are in the med school space. I am not saying this is how you should make a decision. I don't think you should decide what med or law school you are going to based on how many desk treadmills they have or massage chairs. Also, low-key, sleeping pods are a thing at some med schools, which to me implies that you should be like working so hard that you have to sleep at the medical school, which I don't agree with. So I don't know. To me, that's a red flag. Maybe for some people, they're like, yeah, I'd love to take a midday nap. I'm not a siesta kind of girl. So to me, that means nighttime sleep, and I don't like that. Can you think of law schools that are pushing out their amenities, or is that just not really a law school thing?
It should be.
I mean, I think the library is a really important space. Like you want to make sure that it has hours that are conducive to studying, but no, it doesn't have as many. As someone who's worked in both spaces, definitely amenities are a bigger deal at med school. Because like
safety,
you said,
though, I forgot about safety. You should ask about like doors and things like that, because you will be there late.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But it's not like
that's not an amenity. That should be.
I don't need to have like a stitch kit in the sim center. Like that doesn't. Yeah. But like courtroom spaces, I think is really nice because then you get to practice. What am I missing? What other amenity? I mean, I think we always have
really think the people are the amenity.
The people are it's the network.
Absolutely. Because they are the voice in the network, and they are
the sim center.
They are. And so, and the courtroom and the interview spaces, is there enough space to have on-campus interviews, or are they going to be put in a closet? Because that speaks volumes too. And so I think all of that you find when you are there on campus, and the students, and go sit down in the space where all the students hang out and just listen. Listen to what they're talking about. Are they disgruntled, or are they happy to be there?
And are they gathering at all? You want to make sure that they're spending time with one another. They're not just going, they're building community while they're there.
That's right.
Yes, but do they have a ping pong table to build community around is my question. I always push for air hockey. We had a ping pong table. They would have ping pong competitions. And I think they should have had an air hockey table.
Remember sitting in one of the doctor's offices, like in y'all's student suite. And I'm like, what is that noise? Like, oh, it's the ping pong. I'm like,
ping pong.
Like literally ping pong? I'm like, yeah.
Literally ping pong.
Yes. There's ping pong balls flying.
That would get so heated that we frequently had to replace the ping pong paddles because they were getting broken left and right.
It wasn't about the ping pong, Logan. It was
No, that's probably
it was
the
anatomy and
point.
Now their
physiology.
grievances. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
That might be a
So
vibe check right there too on how many ping pong paddles they go through.
That's a good
that's
point.
right. Yeah.
I agree though that the people, that's got to be the thing. It's the people, but also looking at the spaces that you would want to spend a ton of time in, and that you would, especially for law school, that a law firm would want to come in and interview there and not be in a closet sweating through their suits.
That's right.
Um,
So when we were looking at law schools, and my husband this was two decades ago almost, looking at law schools, we visited one that was very high ranked, but it was basically a cinder block. I mean, it was just a cinder block in the middle of a city. We had to be like securityed in, and I was like, I just can't imagine like coming to visit you here. Like, I wouldn't feel safe coming to visit you here. And I'm a very brave person. But then we came to another one, and it was super, super, super nice. It was like right on a river, and it was, beautiful. And I'm like, okay, this is really so something like if you're a city person and you want to go to law school in the city, great. And I do think there is a caveat here. People are like, well, I'm going to go to Pepperdine because like I love the beach. And I'm like, okay, yes, they have a beautiful campus, but like, what of Malibu you're going to see is whatever you can see out the window of that law school library. You're not going to have time really, especially your one all year. So, know that you are going to need to be studious and you're going to need to be working. But I do think it matters where you are and how you feel in that space.
For sure.
Yeah.
Can I make one more note about med school commute? Because
Yes,
Lysanne mentioned it
please.
for law school,
Yeah,
and I
commute.
do feel like this is an
yes.
important point. Also, I will say most of the med students that I knew would have rather had a nugget ice maker than locks on the doors. So just throwing that out there about what the priorities are. Okay, commuting in med school. So to exactly what Lysanne said, people come to med school with all kinds of, might have a mortgage in a suburb with a family. Not everyone can just pick up and move to right down the street from their med school, but something to consider. Certainly in the clinical years, you're going to be going to the emergency department or for your rounds as early as 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. If you're on neurosurgery, you're going to be there at 5. So taking that commute time into account, I do think is important, knowing that you are making the choice if you live 30, 45 minutes, an hour away, that you're going to leave at 3:30 in the morning to get to your 5 o'clock rounds because you also got to find parking on campus and it's at a hospital and where you're going to park. And then in the preclinical years, even though you might be going to a school that has mostly online courses, you're still probably going to have, honestly, the most annoying, an 8 o'clock, 20-minute quiz in person that you have to show up to, that you have to sit in rush hour traffic to get to for 20 minutes, and then you can go home. Or again, student services, a noon wellness workshop, everybody's favorite. That yes, they probably will give you some free food, but it kind of interrupts the flow of your day to have to brush your hair and put on pants and get in the car and go to your workshop, which, I think it's just knowing that that's a lifestyle you're signing up for if you're going to live a little bit further out. I think it's fine. I think it's doable, but know that that's a choice that you're making.
These are all such good things to think about. Things you're not going to find in a US News ranking or even in an ABA 509 report and an ALP report. Things that your cool aunts here at GradMissions are telling you about because we care about you and we want you to be informed. These are the kind of conversations we have on the daily with our clients as they are building their school list, making their decisions, all of those things. So if you've listened to this and you're like, wow, I never thought about some of those things, and you have questions about your med school or law school journey, book a free 20-minute call. We will talk through all of your fears, all of your dreams, and you will leave with a strategy of how to get started, even if that's the only engagement. But if you want to work with us further, we have packages where we actually come alongside you, help you build your application, help you navigate every single decision. And we are right here with you until you're in your white coat or until 1L orientation. So thanks so much for joining us today, y'all.